to be perfectly honest, I'm sure you all felt the same way as me in the first half. It could have been any score at half time. Disappointed with the way that the game opened up for us. But of course, very, very pleased that at one point we were 2 goals to the good, having started so slowly. But there were many, many things in that first half that weren't quite right with the group, that we corrected and looked far more natural with at home. Against a side that have been very confident, are in a good run, have turned the corner incredibly well, and it was never ever going to be an easy night, but in the end I think we made a difficult game in the first half look that much easier in the second, with a couple of very, very important goals to give us some distance. So yeah, really pleased, delighted with a win, of course, after last week's events.
We'll go with Drake Hills and we'll go with Ben Ryan. Drake, go ahead.
Yeah, Gary, of course, having a center forward or really a striker in general who's just on his mark and is just hitting his goals. Of course, that's not new to you, but of course, going back to someone maybe like Connor Casey, who you had with the Rapids, someone who just scored a lot. With CJ, is that something that you leave and you let him do his thing and you don't really tinker with it? How do you go about having someone in such good form like that?
Well, there's a lovely connection between that, what we class as a front three, Annie Randall and of course CJ. I think they've connected incredibly well, especially here. You know, they look so bright, so confident, and I think that understanding leads to quick attacks, early crosses, areas that they start to understand and appreciate that their teammate may well be working into, and of course there's got to be good quality between them. But I think they're a great catalyst for each other. There's such a nice energy about it. They feed off of one another. They've been assisting each other. They've been scoring off of those, of course, and it's looked really, really bright for the group. And of course, confidence is a great thing. CJ's in a nice run. He looks like he's gonna score before he does. He's an handful, especially here. Keep saying that because there is a difference. There is a different feel about the group, and they looked, even after the opening goal, they looked like there was a belief that we can turn this around. We'll do enough here to get it done. Although obviously it gave me kittens at times with the way that it came about.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, it feels like in the first 10-15 minutes especially, their press gave you a lot of trouble. And then as the game went on, you were able to play through it more and clean it up. What do you attribute that to?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, number one, their game is about high energy, putting teams under pressure, and they've had a lot of success from it. With a confident team coming into town, you expect them to show some of those abilities that have got them in that position. We haven't played DC before, so there's an unknown quantity. I'm sure the guys are fully aware of some of their opponents, having played against them multiple times at other teams or for other teams. But we haven't, as a group, played against these, and certainly not in the shape that they're currently offering up and the way that they're playing. So there was always going to be a little bit of a filling out process, but to go behind from a dead ball situation so early, without even really seeing what the game was going to offer, was very disappointing and frustrating. But I have to say, the character of the group, the spirit of the group shines through again, and of course the qualities of the said front three in creating opportunities, which they did. On numerous occasions without the goal scored. Another terrific statistical tally at home. The guys are enjoying playing here. That's all I can say.
Go ahead, Tim. Then we'll go Drake.
Does it kind of surprise you when you put Alex on and he creates such an offensive spark? And then what's going through your mind as the guys are discussing who's going to take that penalty that Alex earned?
Well, yeah. I mean, Alex is so capable. I don't think he's shown us. Certainly not the fans. I mean, we see it in training more often, but he certainly hasn't shown us on this main stage his ability in front of goal and his creativity that he's produced for Red Bull. And with the competition we have, it makes life more and more difficult to get into that group the way that those front three are playing. All you can ever ask as a coach is that when players come in, they try and raise the bar for the players that are out there. They give them some respite. They add some energy to the game, and they try and make a difference. And I couldn't be more complimentary about the guys that have come into the game, what they've done, and how they've performed. As far as the penalty goes, I was trying to find a dark corner so that I wasn't getting pointed at, because Hanny had come off, of course. And I was really hoping there wasn't going to be a melee in the penalty area of people grabbing at the ball. And fortunately, Alex showed a tremendous amount of confidence to grab the ball. I'm sure Daniel would have been ultra keen to have taken it, as there may have been one or two others, but they showed a lot of professionalism, and of course Alex got the job done.
Go ahead, Gentry, we'll go Drake, and we'll wrap it up with Tim.
Gary, kind of a strange question to look at it this way, but do you think there have been times where it's helped your team when you concede early because it's opened up the game so much?
I'm not sure about that. I think the opponent and of course who you're playing makes an awful lot of difference. This DC United team have got a real mantra, and the coach has slowly but surely pointed these guys in the direction that he wants to play, and that is all about energy, positivity. The front three were really exciting, from start to finish, a real handful, and I'm sure they are for most defences. And I think we can all say that our guys normally do a very stout job, but in the first half especially, there were numerous moments that they could have taken advantage of. And I'm not sure that there's, can I put it this way? I don't think at 1-0 they would have felt the job was done here. So therefore, they continue to go about their business. I think their business offers opportunities. It left their back three isolated on occasions, and that's the way they play. And they've performed very, very well up until tonight. And tonight we're taking advantage of it. But I think over time, you have to look at what a system and style of play is doing for you, and it's obviously working very, very well for them. Tonight it didn't, but it doesn't mean to say it won't on other occasions.
Go ahead, Drake, and we'll wrap it up with Tim.
Yeah, the front three, big three, before CJ's first goal, I still remember the chance before that where CJ had started on the right, he kind of weaved in on one side, and Leao weaved on the outside, and Mukhtar took the middle. I'm curious to know, as far as your assignment with how they create and how they, as you say, go about their business, was there something that's behind that as far as like what they're allowed to do or what you want them to do versus what you don't want them to do?
Well, as you know from this game is very fluid. There's no downs or plans that you can, a set piece, of course. We can have some movements and some picks and whatever else, but in the flow of the game, you're very reliant on the work that you do in the week, the type of foundations that you offer to those players, the freedom to go and make those movements and runs or not, and then of course the synergy that they create. And if you look over history, there have been some terrific partnerships, and there have been some wonderful attacking front lines that just have almost a telepathy that works. And these guys are confident. I've said, I'm only going to go over the same ground. They're confident. They look bright and purposeful at home. They're taking chances at the right times. They're showing terrific energy. And there's a wonderful feel about the way they're going about their business. I think it's 13 goals here in the last 3 games, if I'm not mistaken. It's a terrific return. And if we look at really what we are about and the pathway that we're travelling and the development of the group, you know, we're making some nice strides, and it's lovely to be in a good position. I don't think anyone's going to be comfortable or happy until, you know, we're mathematically above the line and we're into the postseason. And until then, we've got lots of challenges, and there's another huge one coming up on Wednesday night. But in the process of that, you know, I and the players and the coaches have to make sure that there are areas of our game that we're continually moving forward with, we're improving, and we can feel, you know, a hell of a lot better about. Because if you stick to that plan, invariably the results come. You know, you can't just look at a game and go, okay, we need to do this week, because then we'll win. Well, you know, there are certain foundations to any group that you have to be comfortable in working with and towards, and the players are. You know, I couldn't be more positive or complimentary, as I've said before, about the way the guys go about their work every day, which takes them into the games.
First question for Alex. Tim.
Yeah, Alex, I believe this is your first brace in MLS. What's the feeling as you? It's not.
Not
Okay.
my first, no. I had one against San Jose a couple years ago.
Okay. So anyway, then, what is your feeling still as you're kind of jockeying with your teammates to snag the ball for that penalty kick that you earned?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you know, obviously we have guys on the field who want to take the penalty, which is really good, and we have set penalty takers, but they weren't on the field, so we were pretty much, you know, down the pecking order in terms of who would take it. You know, I feel like I feel a little guilty because I know there's you know, attacking players who want to get going and get some goals, but at the same time, I think it's good that we all want to take it, and when you're feeling confident, you just want to put it away. And I kind of had a feeling before the game. I actually visualized what happens if I'm on the field and I win a penalty. Like, I've never taken one in my career, so I wanted to you know, cross that off the list. And I'm very grateful for those guys for letting me do it and for trusting me. And you know, even though I wanted to take it, as soon as I scored, they're so happy for me. So I think that shows, you know, the kind of guys that we have on this team and the kind of relationship that we all have. And I'm very thankful for them, and it just makes me want to, you know, sacrifice for them and give them that feeling back.
Drake Hills, Tennessee.
You mentioned the visualization as for the penalty, but at least for both of them, right? I mean, I remember the goal in May against New England. It was kind of similar to your first goal. That bottom right corner, is that something that's a sweet spot for you? Do you like to go about that, or is that just the way it's happening?
It might have to be now. No, I think, you know, it's just an instinctive thing for me. I've been trying to get extra reps after practice shooting, because obviously the things you do repetitively, they become, you know, second nature, and then, you know, that's something that you're doing when you're in the game. And for me, I'm trying to create a mental checklist of things I want to do when I'm in a game. You know, I want to get at least one shot on target, get one cross, one successful 1v1. So I think these are good things to be thinking about, to have floating around in your mind, because, you know, obviously when you kind of manifest those things, you know, it comes from having them in your mind and being focused on them.
Alex, it is not easy to score a goal like you did. It looked easy, but I mean, how many times can you receive inside the box and turn around and put it on that corner? That looks easy from where. But I really say that because maybe sometimes you feel that sometimes you had better or easier opportunities this year and they didn't come true for you.
I think you know, yeah, there's time. I can't think of too many opportunities I've had this year, which is part of why I've been focusing so much on you know, making sure that I take shots and create chances, because you're never going to score if you don't create chances. But yeah, no, it wasn't super easy. It's something that you know, you have to do it quickly, but you also have to be calm in your mind. And I got a little fortunate as well. You know, sometimes you need that as well. So for me, I'm very grateful to have this happen. But ultimately, the main thing that I feel is that I want to add things to the team that, you know, whether or not I'm on the score sheet, whether or not I'm getting assists, I want to make sure I'm helping the team. And that's the most important thing, you know, especially you got guys like CJ. He's scoring goals and it's amazing, but he'll play, and even if he doesn't score, he's helping the team. So I want to be that kind of guy and contribute in as many ways as I can. And tonight I was able to get on the score sheet. You know, other nights I won't, but I just want to make sure I can help impact the team in a good way.
Go Ben Ryan, wrap it up with Gentry.
I feel like by the time you got onto the field, it was pretty wide open, and you and Daniel on a couple of occasions felt like you linked up really well. What did you make of your connection with him, and especially on the lead up to the penalty kick?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a player who's very good. He's very easy to read because because he makes it easy to play with him. And when we came on the field, obviously it's an open game and maybe some tired players out there. So just to be able to play with each other and have a good understanding is great. And obviously he was a very big part of the penalty that I win. So I hope to keep working with him and keep creating that connection. And when I get an opportunity to play with him, I'm going to make sure I try and combine with him.
Go ahead, Gentry.
Alex, I remember last year we would always talk about, 0-0 games and trying to find ways to score more goals. What do you think is different about this team now? You score 5, I think is the most DC's given up all year.
I just think you have a group that's played together and got a lot of good repetition together. I think creating understanding and kind of chemistry is something that you can't just force it, and sometimes it takes games and it takes time. And I think you're seeing a group now that's been together for a while and that start to really understand the way each other want to play and the way other guys want the ball and able to help each other. So I think part of that is chemistry, and I think another thing is mentality. I think this year we said we wanted to be a little bit more going forward, and we've done that. So it has to keep coming, and hopefully start to get a little bit more clean sheets as well, because once you put those two things together, it's obviously a recipe for success.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Walker, first feelings getting in there. I know you didn't really waste any time. You had a couple of headers, a couple of clearances in there. I mean, what was it like to actually get in front of the game and actually get some minutes in?
Yeah, it was awesome. Great to be back. Felt really good about the work that I did in rehab, really making sure I felt prepared to get some minutes. So props to all the medical team and the staff. I feel like training guys did a great job, and ladies did a great job getting me back. And then was just chomping at the bit at that point. Kind of knew I was on a minute restriction, so watching first half was just antsy, waiting for that moment. And then obviously felt really good, calm, comfortable out there. And I thought we had a good lift in that second half to go out and take all 3.
Go ahead, Tim.
What is the process like returning from a Gold Cup and kind of working your way back onto the field? What was that kind of physically and I guess probably mentally too?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough, but there was really no break in time because I knew all of the schedule that's coming up for both club and country, and the importance of everything that lies ahead this fall. And so for me, as soon as I got home, even before I got home, there was no days off in terms of preparing my body. And even I think probably that same night I had the injury, it was already treatment, recovery, rehab, doing the tiniest of movements to try and go ahead and start strengthening. And so it was a very aggressive rehab plan. But again, throughout the whole time, it's a lot different than it was 5-10 years ago in terms of the ability that we have with science and the ability to measure strength, measure speed, measure load. So it makes it a little bit easier because you have data. And so we've been able to push the barrier with that. And again, it felt really good to be back out there.
Go ahead, Gentry.
Walker, I didn't know if you were already back in Nashville when the Gold Cup ended. Were you able to take part in that, and what was kind of your thoughts on how well the tournament ended for the U.S.?
Yeah, so I ended up flying to Dallas with the team right after the Canada game, and then got my imaging, and then left after the imaging when it looked like I would be unable, combination of things, unable to probably play in the final, and then also the medical additions that CONCACAF approved after the group stage to bring people in. So, I think maybe if there's not that, then it's a decision, do I rehab with the national team, do I rehab back in Nashville? And thankfully, that decision was made very clear with that CONCACAF allowance medically. So I flew back to Nashville and immediately got started with the rehab and just watched those Gold Cup games. Nerve-wracking for sure, exciting, an incredible final with a great display of really just character, I think, is what kind of showed from the group, and in terms of how they handle themselves with their intensity, handling their emotions really well in a final of that magnitude. And to do it back-to-back months, against Mexico is huge for the group, especially as we head into qualifying and what that means for this country and for all the players and people involved. So it's a very exciting time to be a U.S. soccer fan, very exciting time to be a Nashville fan, and to really embrace what's coming in this Canada game as a qualifier just a few weeks ahead.
Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, Walker, you talked about obviously the great work from the sports science staff and obviously folks who are helping you rehab. Was this the intention, like the goal, the objective to say, okay, I want to get in before the All-Star break, not necessarily to play in the All-Star game, but obviously before another layoff, before it gets going again?
100%. So as soon as it happened, we looked at along Nashville and the U.S. staff. Once we got the results from the MRI, and I had this date circled on the calendar as the aggressive date to return because it gives me minutes today, minutes Wednesday, All-Star game against Atlanta, and then qualifying if I end up getting called in. If not, obviously we have a stretch of games with Nashville. So it was a big date that I knew I probably needed to get enough minutes, prove that I'm healthy and fit, and this was a good first step in that process.
Go ahead, Claudia.
Walker, two questions in one, and two different topics. Your take about the way that Jalil and Jake have been doing in your absence, to put it that way. And also, now that you mentioned the good times for the U.S. soccer after winning the Nations Cup and the Gold Cup against Mexico. Well, now it comes to the next opportunity, which is the MLS against the Mexican League. What is your take on that other one? Is that pretty much a very good opportunity to confirm what's been going on?
Yeah, it was honestly a great effort from everyone involved in the games with guys who were out. So it wasn't just me who was missing. Godoy was out of the roster as well. Alistair was gone, and it was a variety of guys who stepped up and stepped in. And it's always it's always fun. It's a silver lining when you're out injured and you get to watch guys who maybe aren't playing week in, week out, but they've been training just as hard as everyone else to get that chance and to step up in those moments. So I think the team was, like 3 wins, 1 loss, and 3 ties while I was out, which is amazing. That's probably a very favorable record in that absence for any team in the league to be able to do that with people missing. So a great performance from them throughout the past couple months. And then to answer your second question, we're excited as a nation, as a national team pool. This has been talked about. I can remember slideshows from Greg's first camp in January 2018, and it laid out kind of the schedule of the path to World Cup qualifying. And so now we're here, got delayed a little bit with COVID, but we've been looking forward to these now 14 games for a long time. And so to have the momentum of winning 2 tournaments back-to-back, again, against Mexico, that's a huge step for this program. And it's showing that, the past is behind us, we're looking forward. The future is now is the slogan that, U.S. soccer has been putting forth for a little bit. And so there's so much talent, a lot of depth, and a lot of, again, character within that group. So we're excited and we're ready for that next challenge.
Go ahead, Gentry.
Walker, you'd obviously want to get a call up for pretty much any qualifier, but the fact that it's here in Nashville, that would be especially nice to take part in that.
It would be massive. I mean, these fans here make me feel like a superstar every single time I get to step on the field. And the reception, even today, coming back from injury, is humbling. And it makes you just want to keep working for them. Keep getting results for them, keep putting your body on the line for them, and representing, their hearts, their emotion. We're lucky to have this job, to be out here playing at a high level. So the fact that we have a qualifier in Nashville, yeah, for sure makes it even more appetizing to hopefully get called in and be a part of that game.
Thank you, guys. We'll